You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTA's network service, and as a prompt for our conversation, which of course is a continuation of 2 days that we previously had on battleground states for the March 18th polls. Let's of course listen in to some of the issues raised by our guests. This is put together by Joseph Otsen.
We expect large turnout of electorate on Saturday governorship and the state assembly elections, because all of these candidates and their party leaders are conversing for support, and the curiosity is high for party loyalists. Each of the two contenders have a high plea to see that their supporters, in fact, come out en masse to cast their votes.
One, the performance of the incumbent governors, both Lalong and Otom, and even to an extent in Nasarawa, the performance of Sule. Voters are going to assess their performance in the areas of infrastructure, in the areas of employment creation, in the area of wealth creation. They are going to assess them, and a lot of people are going to take that decision. The second issue that is very paramount to the middle belt states, the north central states, is the issue of insecurity.
The bandwagon effect of the party that wins the presidential, that has been declared winner of the presidential election, may be what will now make some people to say, oh well, we need to move with the party at the center. The biggest sentiment that made the Labour Party to win is the anti-Muslim ticket of the APC in the presidential race that really gave the voice of the results you saw in the presidential race in Plateau State.
Before the February 25th presidential election, they have gone round for the campaign. But this time around, the effect of that election, the key political actors are shifting to groups like traders groups, religious groups, ethno-religious groups, to woo the electorate to vote along these sentiments. And key in the minds of the electorate in Rivers State, they want to see an election that will reflect the feelings and aspirations of the people.
Thank you, Joseph, for the background. Now joining us in the studio here at Abuja to begin our discussion is an associate research professor, Directorate of Research and Policy Analysis Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Abuja, Dr. Joseph Ochogu. Many thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in Good Morning Nigeria this morning.
You're welcome.
Nigerians.
Also joining us from our Ibadan studio is a political affairs analyst, Fatai Adesokon. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Morning, thanks for having me.
All right, and from our Kaduna Network Center, we'll be joined by Musa Zubairu. Musa Zubairu, of course, is a public affairs analyst. Musa Zubairu, we're glad to have you on the program this morning.
A very good morning to our viewers. Good morning to our viewers.
Bernie Kebbi, that's the capital of Kebbi State. We'll be joined by another analyst, Umar Farouk. Umar Farouk, we're glad to have you this morning. All right, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll be joined by another guest from Owerri once we have that sorted out. Mary?
Okay, it looks like we have also joining us from Lagos via Zoom, the British Deputy High Commissioner in Lagos, Ben Llewellyn Jones. Many thanks for joining us in Good Morning Nigeria. All right, so we'll begin our conversation. Let's just start with our guest right here in the studio while we get all the connections outside the Abuja studio in good shape, and then we can move on to them. So I'd just like to find out from Dr. Joseph Ochogu, you have been following developments since the presidential and National Assembly elections, and would like to find out what your assessment is and what's your projection, or if you like, what's your prediction for the governorship election come Saturday?
I think I will start on the premise that our democracy is developing, and that's the fact. And some of the events, that has happened, in the presidential election, and what is likely going to happen are not uncommon, with evolutionary democracy, the way we are going. There are lessons to learn, in the course of this election, both from the party primaries level, up to the main election, because it's important to contextualize what has happened in the presidential election. I think for me, this particular election is what I call the Nigerian rainbow election. It provides a lot of opportunities, for a new set of generation of people in terms of political participation. Even though the percentage of participation vis-a-vis the total number of registered voters differs. But what I'm trying to say largely is that we are on course with our democracy in spite of the challenges, but we should not throw the baby with the bathwater. Every democratic country have their peculiarity and their own challenges, but we must not, throw the baby with the bathwater. We should not begin to look for alternate kind of government from the democratic practices that we have right now. We should be able to deal with it within the institutional frameworks that we have, on how to address some of the issues. And let's note too that election is in the next 4 years. So election is one component of democracy. There are other components of democracy in terms of rule of law, governance, and service provisioning, that is essential. How do we put the same energy we put in election, into these other processes? I think those are very key things that needs to happen. But for the election, that has taken place, there are obvious challenges. There are places to put blames here and there, particularly for the umpires. I think the umpires in terms of strategic communication was lacking completely. Pre-election communication from INEC was grand, was very good in terms of how they communicated to Nigerians and all that. How that stopped during the election, I think it's a problematic thing that INEC itself need to do internal self-examination of its own processes and all that. Security deployment before the elections, massive, nice, lovely. As at 2-3 o'clock, where were those security deployments in terms of when votes were already being collected and counted? Because one thing for me, for the major misnomer for me in this election is the fact that people struggle to go cast their election and then somebody walk to the booth and tear my ballots. I think that is one level of violence that is completely unacceptable. And I think that all the political parties must rally together to say that this act, that a particular citizen will take out his civic responsibility, cast a vote, and somebody else will annul it in terms of tearing his ballot, confiscating the ballots, hiding the ballot, and not making it count. I think that is inimical to democracy. We must all frown at it. We must all go against it, all the parties and all the stakeholders. I think that is something that shouldn't repeat itself again in any place.
All right, Dr. Joseph Ochogu, thank you very much for your opening comments. That's an issue that, of course, we'll return to, because we know that there are a few flashpoints that many are saying, look out for on Saturday. Kaduna, while we were introducing this program, we touched on a number of very interesting scenarios that are likely to be at play on Saturday. Let's go over to Musa Zubairu, who's in our Kaduna studio. Musa Zubairu, once again, help us contextualize the governorship election in Kaduna State against the backdrop of the outcome of the presidential election. Many are saying that what played out in the presidential election, with the ruling APC unable to take that state, it's up for contest in another 48 hours.
Thank you very much. I think when you look at the issue in Kaduna State, the fact of the matter is that things are changing in Kaduna State. The presidential election that were held, you will find that may not necessarily what we will see in the governorship election, because the trend of the campaign, the winning of the electorate has changed. You will find that now factors that are supposed to be so pronounced, are being pronounced within the context of the campaign. You find that now the issue of religion in politics, the issue of the kind of ticket that the political parties are holding is around the talk of the town. So that is not good, and that is not really what we in Nigeria in the 2023 election. So I think because the issue of money, the issue of cajoling electorates with things and the rest of things really has really dominated the whole thing to the extent when you go to campaign, you find that what they really try to look at from you as a campaigner is that are you now towing my religious line? Are you now towing my line? Are you now towing the path that I will get something and put my own kitty or not? So that's really that I've been telling elections in the for the nation, and it's really surprising that.
All right, Omar, we have. Sorry, that's Musa Zubero. We have some issues with your audio, and engineers are trying to clear that up. I could barely hear what you were saying, and I believe so for many of our viewers out there would like to get clean and clear signals from you in our Kaduna Network Center. Let's go over now to Ibadan, where we earlier introduced Fatai Adeshokon to be part of today's conversation. Fatai, again, the same question, contextualize for us the elections coming up in 48 hours in Oyo State. We do know that the APC took the state, but the governor, the incumbent who is seeking re-election, is of the PDP, and he was one of the G5 governors who have, as it were, taken a beating in the election so far. What is likely to play out on Saturday?
One, indeed. In the next 48 hours, Oyo State's capital is going to turn into positive democratic turnout. We saw what played out 3 weeks ago in Ibadan here in Oyo State, how incumbent government party lost to APC, the 3 senatorial and 9 House of Reps. 1 is pending and 4 have been won by the PDP. The Guba contest is taking a dimension politically because of the tendencies in the APC and the PDP. And the critical stakeholders in Oyo State, like Rashid Adewolu-Ladoja, who is a former governor of these states. He was with the Governor Seyi Makinde in the last couple of years. He had actually endorsed and shifted base to Senator Teslim Folarin of the APC. And don't forget that the G5, as a G5 member, Governor Seyi Makinde actually played the ostrich at the poll, and we saw the result that what played out. In the euphoria of that victory, Teslim Folarin had been going up and down, but I think it has now been limited to 2 candidates of the APC and the PDP. The former deputy governor of CBN, the Accord Party candidate, has actually been the biggest political casualty, losing most of his members to PDP and the APC. He's a senatorial candidate in the Oyo North. Shina Pella had actually declared for the PDP. So as for Oyo State Guba context, is between Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, His Excellency, and Senator Teslim Folarin. And don't forget, Senator Folarin is coming to the table. Having been at the Senate for 3 terms. He had been the Senate leader, and he was one of the products of the garrison commander, the Amala politics in Ibadan, the late Adedibu here. And Governor Seyi Makinde is banking on the appeal of the people whom in the last 3 or 4 years, he has actually appealed to their psyche and their sentiments. In all of this, it's going to be an epic Guba contest. Nobody can say it's now 50-50. Teslim Folarin in the last couple of days had actually increased the tempo of chances, unlike before. But now I can assure you, it's between Governor Seyi Makinde and Senator Teslim Folarin come Saturday in Oyo State.
Okay, many thanks, Fatai, for letting us know what the temperature is like in Oyo State politically at the moment. But I'll still stay with you. You said it's between the PDP and the APC. Could you tell us a bit about the other candidates and why you're thinking that it's likely going to go the way of the PDP and the APC? Because the presidential and National Assembly elections actually brought a lot of surprises for us in different parts of the country. We saw parties that we didn't really know, like the SDP and all of that. Doing great in setting strongholds. So could you please, let us know why you think other political parties that are in this contest do not really stand a chance?
Yes. Oyo State's peculiarities is actually different. And the presidential poll, a lot of variables that actually play that will not be playing out. In Oyo State, SDP Guba candidate Michael Lano, a former Attorney General in this state, had actually declared for Governor Seyi Makinde of the PDP. But his party, the leader of his party, for the former majority leader in the House of Reps, Alhaji Amulekat Adeola from Ogbomoso, had actually collapsed the structure of the SDP for Senator Teslim Folarin. You can see the power play. In the other hand, the Labour Party, the Leicester of Nigerian political temperature, that actually, came up with surprise in the last presidential poll, had actually collapsed that structure for the PDP. And the secretary at the local government level collapsed that structure for the APC. Just for you to know that the other parties have actually collapsed, either for PDP, for APC. As for the Accord Party, the former deputy governor of CBN, Bayo Adelabu, had actually lost so much in his Accord Party. He was formerly of APC. So it is convenient to say politically that those parties have actually either for PDP or APC, making the conclusion much more easier that is between Teslim Folarin of the APC and Seyi Makinde of the PDP. And looking at the tendencies in the APC, some underneath are not too comfortable with the emergence of Folarin during the last primaries. And the unpronounced political arrangements with the body law, now president-elect, is some of the factors that will be playing out. And the other hand, the injured candidates in the PDP, the Joseph Tegbe, BC Laka, and what have you, and the House of Reps that lost 3 weeks ago here in Oyo State, some of them are not too comfortable, though they are not well pronounced, but the political underneath are going on. You saw the former deputy governor of Oyo State, Aziz Bolarumi, who was for Atiku Abubakar, actually declared openly that he is for Teslim Folarin, that what Seyi Makinde did 3 weeks ago, that he canvassed and voted for unity. He also and his group are going to vote for unity and integrity. And that speaks volume in the direction of Teslim Folarin. So in other words, peculiarities are going to be playing out. And the Wolu himself, the former governor of Oyo State, who actually was one that actually promoted the coalition that sent packing the former governor Ajimobi, late Ajimobi, out of government house with Adelabu in 2019, is now backing off his support for Seyi Makinde, now for Teslim Folarin of the APC. So it's going to be a kind of epic battle. And if you look at the local government across, APC will be doing fine, some local government in Okeogun. And the Muslim thing is actually playing out. And the Christian thing. Don't forget the way our voting pattern in this country. We vote along religion lines, ethnic sentiments, and what have you. But the race to Agodi government house is going to be an interesting one. And I believe the IG and the GOC in charge here should be able to assure us of security so that we can have a smooth say at the poll. I must assure you, it's going to be an epic battle. A lot of things are coming to play. Teslim Folarin is not a pushover. Governor Seyi Makinde, acclaimed to have performed so far. He has his own supporters, appealing to the sentiment of Oyo State voters. And coming back to Folarin himself, the man is 60 years. He had been around. He became a senator at the age of 39. A lot of political credentials is going to play in his own direction. The reason you are seeing those people in SDP, those in Accord, are actually collapsing that structure for him. The same thing, Governor Seyi Makinde is not leaving anything to chances because he's banking on money I sharing road, the terminal bus he has built, payment of salaries, and the APC is accusing of debt and what. A lot of things are playing out. But I can assure you, it's going to be an interesting Guba contest between the APC and the PDP.
All right. Fatai, thank you very much there for the insights that you have provided. Nyeri, when Fatai was talking about a number of the parties collapsing, their structures collapsing, I hope you have an ambulance on standby as they are collapsing these structures so they can pick them to the emergency room and then get attended to. That's one. Secondly, we've also heard in the course of the 2023 elections, when the votes were being counted, 1, no structure, 2, no structure, 3, no structure. So we'll come back to you to see whether no structure will also be a factor in Saturday's election. Fatai, thank you very much for the insights, as I said, you have provided. Politics actually is supposed to be fun, except that sometimes when the gladiators up the ante and then get more desperate, that's where Ochogu, of course, comes in with his peace and conflict resolution mechanisms. Let's go over to Berenice Kebbi, where we earlier introduced Omar Farouk. Omar Farouk from Berenice Kebbi Studios. That's the capital of Kebbi State. A number of interesting outcomes from February 25th. One of it, the state governor, who is outgoing, sought, of course, to go to the Senate. He was defeated, just like he had with some other governors elsewhere. Senator Ibn Nala, who's been in the Senate 4 times, he was seeking a 5th term, of course, lost the election. Damu Alero, former governor of the state, riding on the wings of the PDP, got, of course, back on course. So what's happening in Kebbi? Is it what is just happening? Tell us. What is just happening? Yes, tell us. What is just happening?
Basically, you see, Kebbi is none of the politics. Basically, you see, Kebbi is none of the politics. Basically, you see.
It's like there's a problem of echo or reverberation from our connections there, and I don't know whether our Kaduna studios are okay now. Well, we understand Kaduna is not just fine in the meantime. So let's come back to Dr. Joseph Ochogu. Dr. Joseph Ochogu, I know you were already getting onto the less pleasant aspects of the conduct of the February 25th elections, namely the incidents of violence that we saw, and more particularly what it means for democracy. In other words, voters get mobilized to go to the polls, they cast their votes, and then roughnecks come, disrupt the voting, tear up the ballot papers. That's the high crime you can commit on an election day. Yeah. Again, how do we get to understand all of this? What happens? Is it the absence of sanctions, or the impunity of the citizens, or just plain indifference by those who ordinarily should take this more seriously?
Thank you very much, Karen. I think that I think in this very studio I've said issues around violence in Nigeria, the connection between political violence, criminal violence, communal violence, ethno-religious violence, and the fact that the actors that perpetrate these particular crimes are connected. And that is why oftentimes it's difficult to prosecute them, because of the political class that is behind such elements of violence. So that makes it a bit difficult. But I think that, like I said, our democracy is evolving, and we are about 20-something years in continuous democracy, non-stop. The issue of violence on election day is not something that we need to commonize or accept it as a norm. It is a misnomer that we need to address. And in addressing that means that we need to as a nation, that is forward-looking and projecting for the future of our people. We need to, as a matter of fact, begin to put in the right mechanism, to make it completely unacceptable, issues around political violence or electoral violence. And we can do that when we start before the election. You don't build peace when election is close by. You build peace. Peace building is a continuous process, in a society, where you try to reduce violence in all its facets. And once you are not able to do that, then you ensure that an election in Nigeria that is a zero-sum game, winner takes all, therefore becomes the level of contestation, therefore makes it prone to violence, because actors know that this is a do or die thing, is either I'm in or out. And for 4 years, if I'm not in, it means that I'm not likely to get anything, because politics itself is allocation, of values and resources of society. So if we don't have, one of the key ways to reduce violence is how we can get our Governance Act right. It therefore means that whether you are in or out of government, service provisioning is available for you. So if service provisioning is available for you in terms of healthcare, education, good road, water supply, housing, and all that is available to you as a citizen, the tendency, to mobilize actors or violent actors to perpetuate crime on election day will become very minimal, because the political class or the politician who is contesting understands that even if he lost this election, he has another 4 years to begin to mobilize his supporters. And this is the beauty of this election that we have today, that the fact that the conventional configuration of the political class, or the two powerful political parties in Nigeria, which is the PDP, the APC, I think that if you examine this election properly, you discover that their so-called power base have been called to question with the emergence, of the Labour Party, and the sudden and spontaneous nature of the Labour Party movement, to a very large extent have changed the Nigerian political landscape, whether we want to agree or not. And like I've told people outside this place, we are faced, the Nigerian political class is faced with two things, either an evolutionary democracy or a revolutionary democracy. So they have to begin to use this next couple of years to find how they can make the evolutionary democracy good and deliver service to the Nigerian people. Otherwise, the next thing you're going to be seeing is most likely going to be a revolutionary democracy. It therefore means that that one is going to distort the entire social order, and then a new order is going to come in place. Normally, revolutions don't come so cheaply, doesn't come so easily. So we pray that it's an incremental evolutionary process that is acceptable by the political class, for them to know that the governance system in Nigeria cannot be business as usual. I mean, people really need to deliver for whatever they are employed or engaged to do, once they get into positions of power, either as governors, as senators, or as members of the political class.
Many thanks, Dr. Ochogu. Of course, we'll still stay with you as regards your line of thoughts, about the political space in the country. But let's quickly get to the British Deputy High Commissioner now, who is joining us via Zoom. I hope his connection is clear. So, of course, we know that the UK is very interested in Nigeria. And as far as elections are concerned, you have observers who, observe, and you observe the presidential election. And we know that during the governorship and State House of Assembly elections, you would also be on the field, trying to find out how much we have progressed in our political space. Yeah, so Ben, I'd like you to please just quickly, just share your thoughts with us, and what you would like to see as your team goes out to observe the elections come Saturday. Like we're still having issues with our connections, the Zoom connection, and of course other studios that we are trying to join on the program this morning. Ben, we apologize. Of course, we'll get back to you as soon as we can get that fixed. So now we'll go to Ibadan and speak with Fatai Adesokon. I'm sure you're still very much with us, and your connection is still tidy. So, Fatai, yes, you've talked about the political actors and the political parties. Can you now tell us about, the people in your state? Would you say that, looking at the results from the presidential and the National Assembly elections, they are very much enthusiastic about Saturday's election? And what really is the pulse of the people in your state at the moment?
People of Oyo State, they are going to come out more than what they did 3 weeks ago. in 2019, the total cast vote for the presidential is now up to what the total cast votes for the gubernatorial between Governor Seyi Makinde, now governor, and the then candidate Bayo Adelabu. It was almost 1 million, and the presidential was not up to. So this time around, Governor Seyi Makinde was still in his saying yesterday. He had been mobilizing. Teslim Folarin was in Ogbomosho, he was in Shaki, and they've been mobilizing Oyo State populace. And this is a very particular election that concerns Oyo State residents and what have you. And if you look at the voters' awareness here, is very, very enriched. And the media, NTA and the likes, they've actually been, informing people to cast their votes and that there will be violence-free election. So people are going to come out, unlike the presidential in Oyo State, because the parties involved, they have actually mobilized people to come and vote for their parties. So we should be expecting larger turnout. But I must tell you, once again, it's going to be an interesting democratic contest in Oyo State.
Well, Fatai, I still like to stay with you. In terms of looking back and then looking ahead, some persons have argued that what played out on the 25th of February in Oyo State, for instance, was on account of the slogan, Awa Lokon. Now that Awa Lokon has been achieved in Oyo State, what are those factors that are likely to shape the outcome of Saturday, March the 18th? Now, if Seyi Makinde and all others weighed in to help realize Awa Lokon, now each is back to their respective trenches. What are those cardinal issues that voters will be considering in casting their votes in 48 hours?
I think the major beneficiary of our Lokon will be Teslim Folarin. Reason you could see the governor moving from A point to B point and C point, reconfiguring people's mind towards the PDP as a party to cast their vote for. It was the biggest political tsunami for the PDP 3 weeks ago. Our Lokon actually swept away the political foundation of the PDP in Oyo State. And the governor has a lot of things to do. And like they do say, 24 hours is long in politics. The variables there, the parameters there, favors to an extent APC. But the governor has the people. We must be sincere with ourselves. So the reason you can see the APC candidates working on the psyche of the people as well. All politics are local. Despite of what happened 3 weeks ago, we can't be beating our chests that this is the way to go to. But the bottom line is between the PDP and the APC. The variables are actually 50-50. Teslim Folarin of the APC in the last couple of weeks has actually worked on the euphoria of the 3 weeks results. And I think that is playing out positively for him. To have gotten the former governor of Oyo State, Wolosha, Rashid Ladoja, is a big plus in his own camp. And having one of his political fellows, when they were in Molete, former deputy governor, Aziz Bolaromi, who had loggerhead with the governor of Sheima, governor of Oyo State. So those variables are there. But below and over, we can still say it's still 50-50 until the election day. Too close to call. That's the simple truth of the matter. Too close to call. APC and the PDP is going to be an epic contest.
We'll definitely come back to you. Let's quickly go to Biruni Kebbi now. Umar Farouk, I'm sure our signals are very tidy at the moment. So let's quickly hear from you. What really is going on in Biruni Kebbi? Looking at what happened during the presidential and the National Assembly elections on February 25th. February 25th. Get it sorted out before the end of the program because we really want to know what's happening in Biruni Kebbi and looking at the fallout of the February 25th election. So let's head to Kaduna now. Musa Zubairu, I'm sure you're there. Musa, we would like to hear from you, looking at the results from Kaduna State on February 25th. What do you think would likely play out come Saturday? Do you think that the governor would have a say or would have his way at the end of the day come Saturday?
Before we had the communication problem, was that the election in Kaduna on the 25th for the presidential election was very peaceful and it was very encouraging. And we really applauded our people for coming out en masse and for behaving very well at the polls. But this to the gubernatorial election of 11th, that was really postponed or shifted to the 18th, really things changed. The campaign really changed gear. The attitude of the politicians and the contestants really changed gear. So many of them really diverted from the cause of decorum to the cause of really provocation. You find that the issue of the sentiments of ethnicity really is playing very hard today in our politics in Kaduna towards the gubernatorial election. So most important and the one that is really most scaring is the issue of religion that is being introduced into this, to the extent that even the electors now don't even know which way to take. Are they going to take the path of decorum to assess what has happened to them in the past, now to take decision for their future, or how do they want to do it? So these are the things that are really bedeviling the politics in Kaduna State towards the 18th March elections, and not until care is taken. And if care really is not taken, when we don't have the security agencies really acting promptly to caution those people that are making such inflammatory statements, they don't caution the people, the political parties that are really making this kind of divisive statements or divisive actions, then we really have a problem. You can see now that the question, instead of the campaign to be issue-based, it is now campaign of sentiments. It is now campaign of division. It is now campaign of hate. Because when you come to see it, you can see that very recently, the issue that really is dominating the whole political arena in Kaduna State today is the issue of the statement made by the current governor, Malam Nasuru El-Rufai, against the former governor, Governor Makarfi. So when you hear some of the things that are coming out, the counter accusations, the counter abuses, I'm using the word abuses, the counter abuses that are coming from the parties really is most unbecoming of 2023 elections. So not until these things really are addressed. So the election in Kaduna State, and as we said, and as you rightly said, really Kaduna is going to be a very, very state to watch out for, because it's really a battleground. The battle is not going to be on the specific issues that are really disturbing the people, that the people want some kind of redress, the people want to really overcome. It's an issue now that is based on sentiment, is based on some historical things that we should have really overcome by now. So we really have them really resurfacing their ugly faces to the extent that you don't even see people really looking at the future of the states, looking at the future of their children, looking at what should become of the state between 2023 and then 2027, to talk the least. So you see, Kaduna State really, we really need to really talk to the people, employ on the people of the state to really look at issues, not those sentiments, not those issues that were far gone. The issues that were far gone are now resurfacing their ugly faces to the extent that the people are now being distracted from issues of reality to the issues that people just concocted to make themselves really comfortable in the election. And here we are not saying only one political party. I think all the parties really have some of these things. Each of the political parties is looking for the jugular vein of the other party to see that really it takes it down. So this one is really not an issue in election, because the election, when we started, everybody in Kaduna, we are talking about
Musa Zubero, sorry, we just had a blip there. It looks like the elements are up against us this moment from Kaduna. We hope that it's not the tension in Kaduna that is affecting our connection to you. Now, help our viewers understand the sudden transformation of the placid atmosphere for the presidential and national Assembly elections, now to the heated and stormy atmosphere ahead of the governorship and State House of Assembly elections in that state. If Kaduna was quiet, as it were, or normal, just 3 weeks ago, what has changed? Why were those same sentiments not available 3 weeks ago, and suddenly now the sentiments have been exhumed?
The fact of the matter is that, and it's normal and it's part of human nature and it's part of the politics that we are playing in Nigeria today. You see, when you have a party that was at the helm of affairs, they're all of a sudden losing. When you look at the loss of the ruling party in Kaduna State, for example, losing all the 3 senatorial seats, out of the 16 House of Representative seats, the party is only having 4. Even Labour that comes new is having 2, while the PDP, the opposition, the strong opposition party, is having 10. So you see, really, the tempo of the campaign will have to change. And from that, I think that is what really has changed the equation, has changed really the pattern of the campaign. Because the campaign now is that of desperate politicians. The desperation is so much. Desperation from the fact that a party that was in opposition has really got catapulted to now take lead in the elections that followed, because they won the presidential election, they won the senatorial seats, they won most of the House of Representative seats. So you can see that now the oppositions really have risen, because even Labour Party, that nobody thought really will make any impact, have 2 House of Representative seats. So you now see that the ruling party, that is the APC, must have to come out with everything in its arsenals, in its armory, to come and fight back. And then the fight, the issues they are bringing is what we don't want. It's what really is not really favorable. It's not what the people of the state really bargain for. In the state, we begin to see that really we have issues that will be discussed. We have issues that will be looked at to elect a credible person. So that is not really coming up. That is not really surfacing. That is not what we are seeing. So I think what we need to do now is to make sure that the parties now are called to order. Though the campaign will finish today, the parties must be called to order, so that if they make anything, let us see action being taken on them. Because we cannot really continue to allow this kind of things to happen. But I can tell you, I can answer your question again, once again, by emphasizing this fact that the issue is that the party that was in power, so that it is losing so much. So the loss there has made them ready to change gear, has made them ready to look at other sources they will be able to redeem their seats at the gubernatorial and the House of Assembly elections, because they have the governorship and they have most of the members of the State House of Assembly. And then these are things that really may likely slip easily through their fingers, and they don't want that. And they have to really fight back to see that really they maintain the grip of what they have. And maintaining that grip is what is the problem. And you can see the issue of religion really is really bedeviling our people. Labour, everybody looks at Labour. We have seen Labour really coming out to champion an agenda of religion of their own choice. The APC is really championing an agenda to the extent that it is now being dovetailed into some ethnic issues. So it's not really good.
All right, Musa, yes, so many issues. So I'd like to find out from you. You've mentioned that, the comments by the political actors, are actually not nice, or if you like, are not pleasant. Could you please, tell us, is that why we are seeing the changes in the security situation in that state? Because before the presidential election, Kaduna was a bit calm, security-wise. But after the election, so many reports are coming from Kaduna State. Would you say that that is what is responsible now? The political temperature is what is responsible for what we're seeing security-wise in that state at the moment? Security-wise in that state.
From my own belief that that is the problem. That is it, because you find that people of the same religious belief, you find them really polarized. People from the same ethnic group, they are being polarized. So that really has heightened the tension, has put everybody on the edge to the extent that nobody wants to listen to reason. Nobody wants to listen to the development of the state, and nobody wants to see that the state prosper. Everybody wants to has now personalized the whole thing. The selfishness, the game of selfishness, the game of lack of decorum, and the case of divisive politics really has taken the center stage, and that is our problem today. So the statements, the unguarded statement, the reckless statements of most of the political actors really is unbecoming. Yesterday I had a program in one of the stations in Kaduna, when they were being asked of some of these things. When you come to hear the answers of the political actors, you'll be so surprised to the extent that they were saying one ethnic group think that they dominate the state and all these things. One religious group thought that they dominate the politics of the state, and we must bring it to an end, and that is why these things are happening. So this really is not it's unbecoming, because the issue, if you look at every religion, from whatever part, what is important is that God has really decided to really make us what we are today. This one to be a pagan, this one to be a Christian, this one to be a Muslim, this one to be a Judah. So when you look at some of these things, God has a reason. So what you are supposed to look at, because you cannot rule in a vacuum. You cannot rule without really bringing the other people to on board. So what is important is that the issue of leadership is what you look at is the credibility of the person, is the plan of the person, is what the person has in his stock, what arsenals that person have to come out and then redeem the state. And I can tell you, our state really needs redemption. My local government area, Benungwari, I don't think really we have enjoyed any fruit of democracy from 2019 to date. So if you can now think of somebody from Benungwari living somewhere maybe in Lagos or Abuja will find it difficult to visit his relations in the area because you don't know what will happen. So unless maybe if you have a chance that you will go by helicopter, the Air Force helicopter, somebody to assist you, then you cannot be able to pass that road peacefully and then go to Benungwari. So when you look at some of these things, these are some of the things that should be the issues that should be discussed. But we are not discussing them. We are discussing that this ethnic group has dominated this ethnic group. This ethnic group want to come out and then see that it fights for its own survival. So as if in the past that some of these things really, there were no decorum, there were no... So the issue of respect for the rule of law, respect for the rule of the game is not being adhered to. And here we have to come out strongly. We have to come out boldly and then show accusing finger to the agencies that are supposed to be in control of some of these things. I expect that the very first day this kind of statements come out, INEC should have really called the candidates, called the political party, warned them. The next
Musa Zubairu, sorry we're having to interrupt to come back to the studios here and bring in a peace and security expert, Dr. Joseph Ochogu. Dr. Joseph Ochogu, it looks like Kaduna is transforming into a tinderbox. What Musa Zubairu has outlined in terms of the incendiary rhetoric coming across all political parties and the issues they are putting on the table, we don't know how much of this the followers themselves would have imbibed. And therefore, in 48 hours, what can be done to ensure that there's no conflagration?
I think the point is to notice that when religion, ethnicity are very easy mobilizational variable when it comes to politics, because they are a motive, based on emotion. So it's a bit very, very easy to mobilize people along that line, to tap on their sensitivity, and then it flames up, and then they told the ethnic religious agenda. So it's one of the tools politicians use, and why democracy is good is that every 4 years, you go to the altar of democracy to present yourself before the citizens for them to choose. So it talks about issues around inclusive politics, and as well as issue-based campaigning, you know, which I see that is completely lacking, you know, from what Zubairu is saying from Kaduna there. And the resort to this mobilizational variable of ethnic, religious, and sentiment means that the political class there have discovered that if you use issue-based campaign, you know, on this particular time, you might not be getting the kind of results you need to get. So what they need to do is to resort to this emotionalism and sensationalism, you know, to get the support of the people or the sympathy of the people towards them side. And this is where issues around regulations comes to place. Because in Niger Republic, just our neighbor hereby, you cannot campaign on non-issue base. The system, the law itself will take its course against you. So this is where the issue around regulation comes in. And I think that INEC needs to unbundle itself, you know, into several components of what electoral democracy is all about. Because its election is far beyond just counting the votes. There are so many components of election, you know, that other parties or agencies need to take hold. For example, NBC is already monitoring issues on the broadcast stations, but on the campaign ground, for example, who are those monitoring issues that are based and that are likely going to flame the embers of hatred, you know, and cause violence in society and all that. So I think that those are things that we need to improve on, you know, going forward. I think that it is sad, you know, in the last 2 weeks, we've seen pockets of violence in Kaduna, and we saw some too in Benue. So you begin to ask a question, you know, in terms of the connection, you know, with the level of violence that we have in our society, criminal violence, ethno-religious violence, as well as political violence, you know, that we have, and the connection. And to see that there are actors who understand these violent perpetrators and make it happen for their own cause. So they mobilize them and then see how they can distort voters' configuration, particularly...
My question, Joseph, actually had to do with, in the next 48 hours, it looks like the ground has been soaked already with petrol. And all that is required in another 48 hours is for somebody to strike a match in Kaduna. So what can be done to douse this highly inflammable, potentially situation?
I think that this is the time for the National Peace Committee, you know, to be up and doing in Kaduna State, you know, and to get all the actors, you know, to resign, you know, whatever commitment they've made to peace. You know, that's public signing, you know, of the agenda, you know, in terms of their commitment for peace for this particular election is very key for Kaduna State as we speak now. Otherwise, it likely tend to, you know, Kaduna is a very naturally hot spot, you know, in terms of violence and all that. So I think that the National Peace Committee and other stakeholders, particularly international development partners, can, as quickly as we can, get the political gladiators in this particular election to publicly, you know, come out to denounce some of the things that they've set in place. And then the mass media, you know, should be able to escalate these messages across the nooks and crannies of Kaduna State.
All right,
I think that alone will build trust and confidence in the process and douse the level of tension and reduce any likelihood for violence in Kaduna State.
All right, Dr. Ochogu, well said. And just to quickly mention that it looks like the 17 governors that will not be returning, whose tenures are expiring, we seem to be seeing, you know, this kind of show of force, or if you like, tension in their states compared to people, or rather governors that are seeking re-election for a second term. Those seeking re-election are busy going about trying to plead with the electorate, trying to, you know, give them incentives.
Take on various roles.
You know, so I mean, we're going to come back to you. It means that there's actually a line between security and our political space in this country. Yeah. I mean, for us to have peace, it also depends on what the political terrain is like. All right, so we'll take a break now, and when we come.
All right, you're welcome back, and still good morning, Nigeria. We have to apologize for the many glitches that we've had trying to connect some of our guests from multiple locations. Stuff happens with tech from time to time. But we understand now that our Zoom connection to our guests from, who is also, of course, one of us from Owerri, is fine. His name is Kingsley Ononiwu. If he's right there, let's see him there. Kingsley, we're glad to have you on Good Morning Nigeria. Tell us, what are the issues playing out in the State House of Assembly elections in Owerri on Saturday, since there's no governorship election there, against the backdrop of some of the security matters that have usually engaged the state in recent years?
Good morning, Kingsley. Well, despite the fact that in Imo State, there will be no governorship election, but Imo State, unlike other Southeast states, is a politically conscious state. People have their interests. Political parties have been strategizing to ensure that victory come their way come Saturday. You know what it means? Before now, it used to be a three-horse race between APC, PDP, and ABGA. Now, Labour Party has joined the chorus, and the political atmosphere is high. So people are preparing seriously, especially those in Owerri zone, that's Imo East Senatorial Zone, where the election might have little challenge, is areas like Imo West Senatorial Zone, that is Olu Zone, and Imo North, where some local governments are still experiencing security challenges. Apart from that, other parts of the states, everybody is warming up, gearing to exercise his or her franchise come Saturday.
All right, Kingsley. Okay, good to know that people are warming up in Owerri and in other parts of Imo State, for the House of Assembly election. But looking at, the emergence of the state governor from a Supreme Court declaration and, like you already mentioned, the violence in different parts of that state on INEC facilities and equipment and all of that. Would you say that we're likely going to see some disruptions come Saturday? And what political party do you think the people will be tilting towards? Do you think they're at home with the governor and all he has done so far?
In Imo State here, every political party has an eye on who and who, constitute the membership of the State House of Assembly. Despite the fact that APC is the ruling party, PDP is not leaving any stone unturned to ensure that its members are elected, a majority in the House of the Assembly. So, Labour Party now, who has been enjoying large followership here, is not relenting to make sure that they capture majority positions in the seats, in the State House of Assembly. ABGA is also waxing stronger. So, for sure, it is not going to be an easy ride for any political party. Even as the state governor, we like to have, just like every other state, every governor of a state is highly interested in the membership of the House of Assembly, because, for instance, the APC is campaigning vigorously to ensure that their candidates emerge so as to have a kind of synergy between the legislature and the executive. So it is, despite the fact that Imo is witnessing security challenges in some areas, but it will not affect the outcome or the expected results of the Saturday's election.
On the two issues, since your Zoom connection is fine, in the meantime, we know that you're in a fairly awkward place, but that's good for us, at least to get the information out with respect to Imo. One, what happened on the 25th of February? Who won what? Who lost? And riding on that, what had been the situation before now? Was APC in charge of the State House of Assembly? And therefore, what is the governor seeking to do to retain control for the APC in the House? Or the other four political or three political parties are seeking now to have a foot hold, as it were, in the State House of Assembly. We don't know what's playing out in Anambra, for instance, that the governor is fighting tooth and nail, as it were, to ensure that it's not swept away by the sentiments of February 25th. So what are we saying in Imo?
Well, like I said, Imo is a highly conscious state. Unlike other Southeast states, everybody in Imo State is interested to know who is as one political leader or the other. Before Igbo, for now, the ruling party is enjoying majority in the House of Assembly. You know, in 2019 election, PDP formed majority of the membership of the House of Assembly. But with following the removal of the PDP governor then, Emeka Ihedioha, immediately the senator who opposed the incumbent governor was declared the winner. Some members of the PDP and the Action Alliance defected to cross over to APC, making APC to constitute the majority in the leadership or in the House of Assembly. But now, as you know that the governorship election will be coming up around November, so now every party, especially Labour, is making sure that its members, candidates are elected, and the governor himself is not relenting. So he's campaigning vigorously because you know what the implication of having a House of Assembly being dominated by members of the opposition. It will not be an easy ride for him. So to him, he is not leaving any side over it. So the APC will fight like a wounded lion. Labour, that is seem to be enjoying the support of many electors, will also fight. The PDP cannot give up, so it will be an interesting contest in Imo State, and people are really preparing themselves, waiting for Saturday.
All right, thank you so much, Kingsley. We hope we can get back to you before the program ends today. But let's quickly see if we can speak with Umar in Birini Kebbi now, just to let us know what's going on in Kebbi and what the expectations are like for Saturday. Umar.
Of Saturday in Birini Kebbi is that the parties are ready to ensure that they have cast their vote, are ready their candidate of their choice in Kebbi State entirely.
All right, Umar, could you tell us the key political actors in that state? We saw some upsets during the presidential and National Assembly elections. You know, who are those that are at the top of the race come Saturday?
We can't just determine what the outcome of the election, but the electorate will decide on Saturday. But what we know in Kebbi here, there is two strong political parties, that is the APC and the PDP. And going by the result coming on the last election of the presidential, PDP has secured 2 senatorial seats, while one is still pending. And going by what the report coming out from the pending, the inconclusive senatorial district, is still PDP leading the result. So now, as you are saying, who are the strong hold in that place? The two parties are all strong, but the only thing is that in the PDP, there is 2 strong pillars which people are seeing likely they may able to clinch the gubernatorial ticket, because going by the election of the Saturday, that is Senator Muhammad Adamu Aleru, who is the former governor of the state, former minister and former senator, and now again a serving senator and re-elected senator from Kebbi Central. And going by the statistic, in Kebbi State, we see that any political party that has can control the Kebbi Central Senatorial District, those are the people we expect that may clinch the ticket of gubernatorial. And going by the APC again, we see the sitting governor, he contested with the Aleru, and Aleru defeated him. And more so, again, is that he is the sitting governor, and he is the chairman Governors Progressive Forum of the APC, and they have one former governor, Saiduna Samud Akingari, who is the DG campaign of the APC in Kebbi State. And also the candidate of the APC, having been the unionism leader of the NUT president, who recently resigned and contested primaryship and won the ticket of gubernatorial aspirant of PDP in Kebbi State. So that is why we are now seeing it as the two parties are very serious, because they make a campaign rigorously, and also the electorate are also ready, showing interest of who to elect. And going back again, in the PDP, the gubernatorial candidate, he's a retired Major General who just retired from the Nigerian Army and joined into the politics. And mind you again, the APC, the former governor and former senator-elect and former minister Aleru, he was in APC when he left the APC to PDP. And also the Senate Majority Leader, Dr. Yahaya Abdullahi, also he was in the APC when he left the APC to PDP. So that is why now we cannot just say that this is the particular party that will won the election. But all the parties, there is chances to all the parties. Any party may have the ticket. But going by if we can judge, going by the presidential election result, we will say that PDP has chances more than the APC in the state.
Umar Farouk, thank you very much for the explanation that you have provided, and I hope you can hear me clearly. The audio from your end has stabilized. Again, help our viewers understand. It looks like almost as you would find elsewhere around the country, it is not a difficult thing for political chieftains in Kebbi State to dump one political party and then get onto the other. You mentioned the name of Dakingeri. Dakingeri was governor of Kebbi State on the platform of the PDP, where he has since moved over to the APC, and as you said, is the DG of the campaign in that state, and all that. So, is it politics of personalities or politics of issues? What is it that voters are looking out for? Is it just the individual, Alero, for instance, in Central? Or is it Nala who lost? Is it, what is it that voters are looking out for in this round of elections?
Voters in Kebbi, as you said, they are looking for the personality and they are looking for the party candidate again. For instance, as I said earlier, that the political terrain in Kebbi, or the situation, is that from the history to date, is that whichever political party will win the ticket of the governorship in the state must have the 8 local government that make the entire senatorial district of Kebbi State. That is Kebbi Central Senatorial District. That is where the context between the former minister Aleru and the sitting governor, that is Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu. And mostly, these are local governments that constitute almost 1/3 or 2/3 of the vote of Kebbi State. Because if you look at the Kebbi Senatorial District has 8 local government out of the 21 local government we have in Kebbi State. In Kebbi South Senatorial District, where Allah lost, we have 7 local government that makes the entire Kebbi South Senatorial District. Then in Kebbi North, where Dr. Yahaya Abdullahi Malamawan Kebbi, who is the former Senate leader who relinquished it just to decamp from APC to PDP, has 6 local government. That is make the entire 21 local government in the state. So, having said this, mostly whoever wants Kebbi Central, we expect he clinch the ticket of the governorship.
Okay, so glad that we could finally hear you and, of course, get your thoughts as regards the situation in Aberini Kebbi. We are running out of time, and just to quickly round off the conversation this morning, let's get to Dr. Ochogu. You've heard, analysts speak from different parts of the country, and of course, you know what's happening in other parts that, we didn't touch on the program today. So what would be your advice, or if you like, what would be your expectation as we count down to the governorship election comes Saturday, and what way would you want to see us go?
I think that the first one is that the Nigerian political class must learn to learn lessons, that the political seats are not permanent. And I think that that is one of the beauty of this year's election, from the fallout from the presidential election. The second component is the emperors in the state, to know that it is not going to be business as usual. The presidential election and the elections into the federal parliament have demystified the powers of incumbent governors, across the state. It therefore means that political elites, are gaining grounds, in different forms. Before a governor can come and run the whole election processes and everybody goes that direction. But we are seeing that increasingly that is not happening. So a lot of objective realities are informing that. The way forward will be that our political class must begin to know that elective position is about service delivery to the people. Anything outside that, it's if you patronize a few people and exclude other people, note that the day of reckoning is coming, and election periods are days of reckoning for political class, so they must know. So for the governorship election across the states that are going to be holding this election, it is imperative, that political actors appeal, to the voters, to the electorates, to understand their sides and be objective with them in terms of the challenges they encounter and the way forward, their vision. People want hope. So political class must be able to give people hopes and aspirations for them to look forward to, and then they can come with their support. But where you abuse them and then you want to turn around to seek their vote again, the election day is on the day of reckoning, and we are seeing that playing out. So we should not be surprised at the way the election result is going to come out in different places, with the likelihood of some incumbents, losing their seats, and then we see a new play. I think that the State House of Assembly is one particular place whereby they need to consolidate on themselves. This whole idea of running where the governor is so that they can get some little prebends and patronage is not too correct for democracy at that level. We need the beauty, the diversity of political parties, in the state parliaments, for us to enjoy the beauty of democracy at the subnational level.
Okay, Dr. Joseph Ochogu, thank you very much for the points that you have raised. Of course, Kaduna is pretty interesting, and we do hope that we have the opportunity of discussing the security situation there as building up ahead of Saturday. Musa Zubero, a public affairs analyst, thank you very much for drawing attention to the rising political heat in Kaduna. We do hope that the temperature will plummet in the next few hours so that they can have a peaceable atmosphere for the conduct of the elections. Musa Zubero, thanks a lot. From our Benin Kebbi studios in Kebbi State, Umar Farouk, another public affairs analyst, you see him there on the left side of the three scenes you have there on the set. Thank you very much. We apologize for the technical glitches that we had. In the middle, Kingsley Ononiwu with us via Zoom from Owerri. We also appreciate the explanations that you provided. From Ibadan, we're joined by Fatai Adeshokon. Fatai, we appreciate you, and of course here in the studios, Dr. Joseph Ochogu. And also Ben Jones, the British Deputy High Commissioner, who joined us briefly, although we couldn't really hear him. That's right. So that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. We appreciate your being part of the program. Tomorrow is another day. I'm Kingsley Osadolo. And I'm Henry John. Do enjoy the rest of your day.